All right, we're live at Share Necessities. We're doing a free legal workshop today, and I'm here with the founder of Share Necessities and my friend Arjuna. Arjuna, how you doing?
Oh, blessed today. Thank you.
By the way, guys, we're also live on Instagram under the Share Necessities account. What's the Instagram Share Necessities?
It's at Share Necessities.
All right, so I'm going to turn this around this way.
Okay.
So I wanted to have people learn more about Share Necessities. First, let's tell them a little about your background, okay? So I know your background, but I think other people need to know as well. So go ahead and tell them about that.
Well, I was raised in Detroit. I grew up in the era of one of the biggest drug cartels that was happening in the 80s. From the Midwest, East Coast side. Actually, there's a movie coming out right now called White Boy Rick.
Yeah, I actually want to see that movie.
Yeah, and so I was a young man, and I was raised in that era. You know, my father was part of that generation, and seeing that as a young kid, you know, not only just being around it, but being raised to be next in line, to be taught how to continue that generation, you know, as a young man, and didn't have an option. It was challenging, you know. And so moving forward, you know, I got in the game. Years later, I was shot at 19, you know, fatally shot.
Well, not fatally, because you're still here.
Well,
but you almost died.
Was it what they call it? Well, DOA. When you
DOA, okay.
I was dead on arrival. I got to see me as a dead body.
Okay.
Well, I was technically dead, but then was brought back.
All right.
And in that whole transition of what they call it, seeing the white light or having that conversation with God, you know, I was given these instructions in that conversation.
So, let's clear one thing up. You were shot when you were 19, not because you were just some innocent bystander walking down the street, because you were actually gangbanging yourself.
I was a pusher. Yeah, I was a street entrepreneur.
Okay. So you were in the life.
I was in the life.
All right. So you get shot and you're dead on arrival, and you survive.
Yes.
So you see the light.
You see the light. Get the message.
All right.
And I personally felt that there was no way that I could lie about that. There was no way that my internal self could walk away from that. I tried it. I tried to act like it didn't happen. I tried to follow what the streets would accept. You know, I tried to follow that life that you get shot, you come back like Tupac, or you're a gangster. You know, you try to level that up. And but then there was that moment of clarity where the conversation I had with God came back and was like, now when we talked and you were dying, this isn't what we discussed.
Right. And
I was faced with that. People didn't understand that. But also, from the injury, I was paralyzed for a year.
For a whole year?
For a whole year.
So you couldn't walk?
Couldn't walk from the waist down.
From the waist down, okay.
I was paralyzed, so I couldn't walk. I stayed in the hospital for maybe 4 months.
Okay.
I lost 85% of the blood in my body, so they gave me a blood transfusion, which, whosever blood this was, I didn't feel connected to it yet. You know, I was a human inside of a body, feeling like somebody totally different. So that was trippy in itself. And I spent the first 6 months trying to even figure out who is this? Who's this person inside of this shell now? You know, and having that awareness. So that was interesting. But being paralyzed and not being able to move, it put me in a position where all I could do was think, all my thoughts. And I started journaling. Just started journaling the conversations I was having with myself, journaling, looking back at some of the deals where I knew I should have been dead probably sooner than that.
Okay.
And at that time, I found out I was getting ready to have a son, my first son.
Wow. By the way, the people who just joined us, we're talking to Arjuna. He's the founder of Share Necessities, which is an organization that helps the community. Also, together with my office, we put on Legal Clinic, helping the community and those people who don't have access to legal education or legal assistance. Arjuna is telling us a little bit about how he started the organization and who he was. And if you just came in and you didn't hear before, Arjuna was actually in the life in Detroit. He's a Pistons fan, but we won't hold him against that. He actually, while he was in the life, he got shot and he was paralyzed from the waist down. And that's when he sort of saw the light and he decided to give back to the community. Now, so you're in the hospital, you're paralyzed from the waist down, you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then you find out you're going to have a son as well, okay?
Yes.
So let's skip a little bit forward. So you get out of the hospital,
yeah.
and you rehab and you can walk now. Now, did you decide to go back into the life, or what did you decide to do, and when did that actually click?
So that was the tricky part. You have the experience. You know how even as a kid we all have gotten in trouble where you get asked that one question: have you learned your lesson?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And there's always that moment in life that tests that sincerity. Have you really learned your lesson? And so after I rehabbed myself a year later, I hadn't really reintegrated myself into the community yet. So a lot of people thought I was either still dead, because when it made the news, it went national that I was killed.
Okay.
So they showed my body on a gurney being put inside the ambulance, not knowing, a lot of people didn't know what happened after that. I remained as a John Doe. I didn't speak based on what had happened, so I never really gave my information. So that didn't get put out.
So you were at John Doe while you were in the hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
I tried to use that to my advantage at the time, because I knew there were some things that hadn't been cleared up.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons why you're here, and we'll get into that. But
okay.
So having that experience and knowing that I needed to make this shift, now I have a son. But then there was the street part. There was the part where the reality was, if I just jumped out from being shot and like, hey, world or community or friends or former hustler friends, we need to change. We need to do better in the community. It totally would have been received as, oh, he got shot and the spirit
he's soft now.
Has been broken.
Yeah, he's soft.
So,
okay.
Then I had another conversation with God, like, well, now you know if you want me to do this mission, it has to work to where it makes sense to the streets.
Right.
So I kind of went back out, portrayed to be that next level version of Arjuna that was in the streets. But knowing deep down, I was looking for the exit route.
Now, another thing is, once you're in the life, you can't get out unless some gangs say, or some organizations say that if you have a kid, you can get out, or if you die, right? Was the organization you were a part of, was it like that too? Could you just come and say, guys, I'm out?
Well,
or would there be a backlash?
You know, these kind of subjects and these conversations have always been tricky, especially when you expose it to like media and go live and talk about it. You know, for me personally, I'll speak on my role.
Okay.
The difference, LA, what I learned in LA, there's gang culture. There's real gang culture. You know, LA is built on gang culture.
Well, yeah, LA sort of exported gangs to the rest of the country.
Right. And so on my side of the globe, we didn't really have real gangs. We had people trying to imitate what they saw on the West Coast. But the street hustle, the drug entrepreneurship, that was live. That was solid. You know, that's what we were known for. People from Detroit were known to go all over the United States and open up drug houses. So I was more on that end. Gangs at that time and all that stuff, that was more for like the kids.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
So I was raised, again, and if you've watched any of these documentaries or when White Boy Rick comes out, if anybody happens to see that, you'll have a better understanding of what I'm explaining. At the level that I was brought in, it wasn't a when you decide to get out. It's no different than the gang culture here. It's you're in it.
You can't get out.
Yeah, you're in it. If you're raised in it, you're in it. Even if you don't sell the drugs, you're a part of that family or that connection. You get labeled the same way based on if there's territory beef or if there's any type of conflict between the money and the hustle. If you're a part of that, you're a part of that.
So how did you get out, and when did you get out? As when I say when, I mean from the time you got shot and you came out of the hospital until the time you got out. How long was that?
You know, to be honest, if I had to really tell the truth, I don't feel that there's ever an out. There's not an out, because if I go back home, anytime I go home, I'm going to be received with the same type of love, and I'm going to be received with the same opportunities as I was if I was still hustling. But what I was able to do was to be able to take my status and take it to the next level.
Okay.
And that's where we got the name Next Level. So what I did was...
Oh, see, if you guys didn't know. So Share Necessities is the organization that Arjuna found. But the community center is actually called the Next Level Community Center. And if you're wondering why, he just told you why.
Yeah. And so it was like, how can I take this culture to the next level? My mindset behind it all. So what I did was I went to my elders, my OGs, or whatever you want to call them, my leaders who taught me, and just explained to them my whole situation. And you really don't have people that can just... How often do you hear somebody just make up a story that they spoke to God and they were killed? It was all documented. So usually on the streets, if your stuff is, you have to be documented. You have to verify everything that you said. It has to, somewhere, it has to be accounted on paperwork. So if you say you went to the legal system, if you can't document that you went to jail, you didn't snitch, it's open game for anybody to believe what they want to believe.
Right.
And that's one thing that's never really talked about. You have to be able to be certified. Your name or someone on the street has to be able to attest for that lifestyle or whatever it is that you say you
you can't just walk around and say I'm a gangster, I'm this. There has to be actually, you got to have street cred, for lack of better terms. All right, so you take it to the next level, you're out on the street, you take it to the next level. What happens?
So I go to my leaders and I say, look at our generations. Look what happened to me. These are the things that are happening, but we have our kids. I'm a new dad. So I came at them with the new dad perspective. Like, look.
And you were 19, 20 around that time.
Around like 20, 21 when it started to make sense that, all right, this is it. Like, if you don't want to, what happened to me was really clear was, do you want to continue the cycle?
Okay.
Now you're a dad. All the questions that you had about your dad or the other fathers that you saw, that made you question why would you pass this on to your kid, knowing what we know now that I'm in it, knowing the results, knowing the conflicts, knowing the challenges. I'm like, why would I do that to my own kid? But now I'm confronted with that in real life because I have a son now. And that's where the shift happened. So I took those feelings to my team. And I was like, look, how can I change this for my son? I don't want to be this way for my son. And so I just told some of the OGs, like, hey, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get a master's degree. I'm going to get a degree and I'm going to come back, and what I'm going to do is help all of us.
Let me back up a little bit. You told the OGs you're going to go back to school and get a master's degree. Did you already have a bachelor's degree?
No, I wanted to go. The vision was to do the full.
Right. So it wasn't like you didn't even start small and say, I want to go to school, get a bachelor's degree. I want to get a master's degree, right. Meaning that I'm going to go get a bachelor's and a master's, right?
And eventually become a doctor at this, get a doctorate degree.
Okay.
And that was just my personality. If I was in the streets, it was 110%. I didn't have an in-between. So if I did it, I did it. That was my thing.
So you tell the OGs you're going to do that. What did the OGs tell you?
From the way I explained it and, I laid it out, it was one of those situations where if you really loved the person or if you really cared, it was one of those situations where you had to respect it. It was either that or kill me now.
Okay.
And they saw that. They were able to connect to that. But a lot of times in these organizations or these situations or these communities, you don't have a voice of reasoning. There's never that one guy that can say, hey, because we're all pretty much doing the exact same thing. I was the first person to step out of the organization and look at it from a different perspective, which was, I consider, the next level.
For those of us who just joined us, we're talking to Arjuna. He's the founder of Share Necessities, and he's telling us his story. He was actually in the life, and if you don't know what that means, he was actually part of a drug organization in Detroit, his hometown, where he sold drugs, and he got shot at the age of 19, where he was DOA when he got to the hospital, and he saw the light. And now, so let's go back to what we were talking about. The OGs, you want to get out, and you want to go get a master's degree, and they respect that. So what do? You just leave the life and start school, or?
Well, I'm going to be clear. I never used the term I want to get out.
Okay.
What I said was, how can I use these new skill sets to take the game to another level?
Okay.
I think getting out, because it's not in that real setting, there's no such thing.
So if you told them I want to get out, they would not have it. But if you tell them, look, I want to go to school and get a master's degree in order to help the organization sell more drugs or be more profitable, then they were like, all right, that's cool, you can do that.
Well, it's like looking at a relationship, a marriage.
Okay.
You know, the marriage could be bad, things are going on, if you just say, you know, the wife or the husband says, hey, I want out, honey. The first question is, what's happened? Why do you want out? You know, and then you're looked at like, what's wrong? What happened to you? So in this case, if I just say I want to get out, well, then what happened when you were down? You know, I served 2 years.
Right.
And that's coming up. But I knew that getting out didn't even sound realistic, because it's like, well, where are you going? If you get out, you're just going to hang around Detroit, around all this money, all these opportunities, you're just going to hang out? It's like, what do you mean get out? So I knew the conversation had to really speak on a next level type of mindset. And so that's where I rolled with it. And I created a proposal. I said, hey, when I get done with this degree, I'll find a way to create something that I can bring back to our communities, back to our kids, the kids that we all have, and to help support them so they can break this cycle and they don't have to have these same stories and sit here and talk about the same pain, the same suffering, the same hurt. And I didn't want my son to feel the way I was feeling.
Okay.
So once that was presented, the conversation was, okay, well, how can we support you? They felt the sincerity. They knew I was the type of kid that would do it.
Okay.
I was always book smart. My mom always taught me to stay on top of my learning. She always promoted being self-aware, self-love, kind, all these things that I'm doing now. Mom's always instilled those qualities in me, you know, but I never told Dad. I always kept it, you know, because that didn't match the street life. But deep down, I knew that I needed to use this influence that I had, this power, in a way that could change the reality around me, but I didn't know how, I didn't know where, but I always kept that seed was planted, so I just held on to that.
Okay.
And then I went back to school.
So, and I'm going to cut you off, and
That's cool.
I'm going to direct the conversation most of the time. So, and if you don't like it, then we're going to have problems. But on a serious note, so you decide you want to go back to school. Did you go back to school in Detroit?
I started in Detroit.
Okay. And then how long were you in school? But basically, I want to get to, how did you end up in LA?
So I completed my bachelor's degree, and I was like, you know what? I felt inspired. I had all this information. You know, I was a newly learned bachelorette. I had all this information, and I decided to start working with it. So I created with a partner my first consulting business to the inner city communities. All the guys who I knew that had businesses that were trying to look for ways to transition out of the hustle and become legit. See, there was that part too. There was a lot of us that wanted to get out of the game, but there was no way out. There was no way for us to funnel and find our way out, and I wanted to create that lane. And so I did that. I did it for about a year, but then what I learned was that there's people that'll sit back and watch and look for ways to use the good again to just loop it right back into the same shenanigans. And when I realized that was happening, I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to leave. And then from the injury, from being shot, my body started going through all these challenges, and I think what was happening, I was suffering from PTSD,
okay,
which was causing my body to respond to the injury negatively. So I consulted with my doctor at the time. They wanted to cut my leg off. I said no. He said, well, the only other thing for you to do is go to a place where there's better climate, hot climate, and be around the ocean, seawater. And so he said, you can either go to Florida or California. He suggested it, and I was like, wow, Florida is super hot, and that's crazy. And I'd always heard about LA through Tupac, the songs, and different movies, just being out in the game. And so I was inspired. I chose California.
So when you came out to California, did you have anybody out here?
I didn't know anybody.
So you just came out here all on your own?
Well, the mindset was go far enough away from this shit that it can't touch you, and put yourself in a position where if it doesn't work, you just can't. Because normally we go to default mode.
Right.
We hit a roadblock, we're like, I'll just go back to this because it works. I knew if I put myself on the West Coast where I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody that would talk me into going back to Detroit.
So you kind of like forced yourself into a new environment where you didn't have your old habits to fall back on.
Right.
Okay, so you come to LA, and then I want to jump into how you got into the yoga and everything else like that, because I know you're a big fan of yoga. You actually do yoga, and I'm gonna let you talk about that. So tell me about what drew you to yoga and how you think it helps you in your everyday life.
So when I landed in LA, I tried to get a place online.
Okay.
Through Craigslist. I was new to the internet because, mind you, I'd been doing the drug game forever. Wasn't really internet savvy, so somebody recommended I go on Craigslist and get a place. I did all that, but it was a scam. So I paid $5,000. I showed up at a place in Corona at midnight, playing with somebody's keypad, and then the guy answers the door. I'm like, oh. Holy shit,
right.
Oh, and this guy's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, wait, hold on. And as soon as I arrive, I see myself where I could be in a whole nother situation. Anyway, I let it go. I landed in Venice, so I just drove near the beach. I remember the doctor saying, get to the beach. So I Googled beaches, Santa Monica, Venice showed up. And I pulled up in a little, it was like a church. And they told me I can park my truck there, I can sleep out of my truck. And then I realized, wow, there's a whole homeless community over here. Everybody almost seemed like they were homeless. And they welcomed me in, and we kind of just would talk. They taught me the ropes of being on the street. I shared with them some of the stuff that I was learning in school.
So you lived in your car?
I had a Suburban. I drove a Suburban.
You lived in your car parked in a church in Venice?
Yes.
How long were you living in your car for?
4 months.
Okay.
And what I did was, I told the church, hey, you guys have this beautiful space, what do you do with it? They were young, the people that were managing, they didn't really have any business experience. So I said, hey, in exchange, let me put together a proposal for your business. I can help promote it. In exchange, maybe I can earn some money or stay here, or if I need to shower or whatever. They agreed to that. So I put together a proposal, and it was just to lease the space or rent it to other people or other businesses. And that's when I stumbled across my first yoga instructor, her name was Shiva Ray.
Okay.
She was out of Exhale Yoga before they shut it down. And someone recommended that, I take her class.
So you started taking her class?
Yeah. And then I connected them to that space, and she would do workshops and events. And then all of a sudden, I just started meeting all these different yoga people that were interested in the space. They didn't know it was available over there at the time. To get property or find spaces to lease to do things, it was pretty challenging.
Okay.
So,
by the way, we're here at Share Necessities. It's an organization that Arjuna created, and the community center is called Next Level, and yoga is actually offered to the community. So a lot of people some don't know what yoga is, some have never experienced it, even though they've heard of it. They actually can come here, and there's yoga classes here, correct?
Yeah. Meditation, mindfulness, yoga.
Right. And that's just one of the services that the community center provides to the neighborhood. The other services are the legal workshop that we do in conjunction with my office. What other services does Next Level provide to the community?
Well, the idea of the whole Next Level Community Center was the entire person, well-being, the whole person. But even for myself, I looked at it in my own personal life, and I was like, there was layers to get to where I am now. And so that was the way I saw the center working. Most of the people in South Central are going through the same thing that I went through. And so what I thought was, how can I give the practices that I've seen work, my experiences? I never believe in advocating something that I've never experienced or I have no information about.
Right, okay.
So that's just me. So I wanted to share what I can personally speak to and attest to and say, if you make these changes, you can experience these results. I'm not promising anything, but just saying, what if? And so the idea was to bring things that I used on my journey, which was, I was born and raised a vegetarian my whole life. So my diet was always good, healthy food. What that food did for my body during that traumatic change and to recover, certain foods help heal me internally.
So nutrition is one of the things that we teach, or you teach. The community center teaches the people of
Yes.
this. Okay.
So we offer nutritional value, where to look for that nutritional value. So we have Wednesdays and Fridays, we do a free produce day, which is called our social market, where we give away fresh organic produce that is locally farmed within the state of California. If you're not familiar with the term food desert, South Central is considered on the map, if you Google it, food deserts.
And by the way, the next level is located in South Central, and that's where we are right now. So continue.
So we offered the food. For me, it was like, in order to get to the information, in order to even talk about value, things that can change our lives, I realized that most people, not even just in inner cities, most people aren't connected to their hearts. They don't feel good within their bodies, just based on whatever their story is. And so I wanted to figure out, how can I touch the people that I encounter, wherever I am. But specifically to this center, I wanted to be able to connect. And I knew that food would be the first thing.
Right.
And that's just from being in jail.
Okay.
The value of what you appreciate. And when food came out, that was the only time we all act like we had some sense. So that was something that I wanted to present first. And from the food, it allowed a dialogue, because now I'm not forcing my agenda or whatever my realizations were. And I thought, well, what's a good way to do that? And so I went back to the name, Share Necessities. I figured if I just shared information versus me trying to tell somebody something, I would get a totally different response.
Okay.
And if anybody's dealing, you know how it is. If somebody tries to tell you something, usually when people tell us things, it comes from a different perspective, and it kind of will make us feel either challenged, shut down, or that we're not smart, or you have no knowledge of this.
Right.
And that could be put off. So I said, well, what if I just come up with sharing?
Okay. So
that's where we got the name, by the way, Share Necessities. So I shared my eating practice, my eating habits.
Okay, and that's one of the things. So let's go back to the different things that the community center offers. There's food knowledge or nutrition knowledge, and then you said Wednesdays and Fridays.
Fridays.
When you have your farm days, is that what it's called?
It's called our social market.
Social market, where you provide locally grown vegetables,
locally sourced organic produce.
Okay.
So the concept is from farm to table.
Okay.
A lot of the food comes straight in from the farms, and we hand it out right into the community. There's thousands of kids around here. We're surrounded by like 5 schools, nothing but families, kids everywhere, and we wanted to get that into the community.
Okay. And then there's also, I know, another program where there's books here that kids can come and take books. And I've seen it myself, where kids just come in and they take a bunch of books, and these are educational books.
Yeah. To touch that piece, again, I was able to go to school.
Right.
I saw the value of being educated, and something I want to say, because I know we're in a time now where, with school loans and the way the education system is working, a lot of people don't feel that you need to go to school. Fine. But the reason why I still push, the education route is because for someone with a background like mine, I needed to have that experience in school. I needed to go to college. I needed to be around professionals to reprogram my thinking, my social skills, how I interact. I learned so much from just being in school.
I think it goes back to the theory of you're a product of your environment. So yeah, if you're around educational institutions and around professionals, then you become one of them. So there's also yoga classes offered to the community.
Yes.
And then you were telling me something about a gardening certificate that people can get. So tell more about that to the viewers, please.
So I'm going to break it down like this. So it's layers. There's layers. So the food. First, let's get the food in the body.
Okay.
Because how can I talk to you about eating healthy if you've never had that experience? So if I get the food in you, the food is going to do the piece that I don't need to do. It's going to talk to you, talk to your body. You're going to have those experiences, and then you bring those back to me. And so then the next layer was, oh wow, since I've been eating healthy, I'm feeling like this. I have more energy. So let's talk about that. Now, how can I learn how to cook like this? So then we integrated the nutritional classes, teaching food demos, teaching people how to prepare the food.
Okay.
Thirdly, from that was, okay, now that I know how to prepare the food, how can I grow it? How can I become, they say, what's the saying? You teach a man to fish, he can feed the whole. And so what we did, we installed garden boxes outside our center. We have 8 boxes down the whole block,
right,
where we grow fresh organic produce. The community members can pick at harvest time, take what they need, and it's worked out beautifully. We've been here for 2 years now, this July. And from that was, okay, now that I feel good with the food, I know how to cook it, now we're learning how to grow it. We partner with the University of California, their master gardening program. It's called LA Victory Gardening.
Okay.
You attend 4 classes. You have a legitimate certification through the University of California to be able to use on your resume. It's a resume builder, but it's also an opportunity now that you have a skill set that you can take to a local nursery or Home Depot, potentially get a job. So we wanted to give something that had value.
Okay, so 4 classes, you have to attend 4 classes, and then you can get this certificate, which is backed by the University of California.
Yes.
That's awesome.
By Master Gardener teachers, yes.
That's awesome. All right, so if you guys just joined us, we're talking to Arjuna, who is the founder of Share Necessities. We're here at the Next Level Community Center. I wanted him to know a little bit about, I wanted him to tell you a little bit about what he does and what this organization is about. And we're also live on Instagram on the Share Necessities account.
Yes.
So we got Facebook going, and then we got the Instagram account going. By the way, guys, Share Necessities, if you want to follow them, they are on Facebook. If you Google Share Necessities, they show up. I have them linked on my page as well if you can't find them. Follow them on Instagram. And what is the Instagram account for them?
At Share Necessities.
At Share Necessities.
Share Necessities, yeah.
And then please visit their website. And it's the website has been redone. It's brand new. It's awesome. And it's give them the URL, please.
The handle is share -necessities.org.
Okay, share-necessities.org. And you are a California-based nonprofit organization, correct?
Yes.
So it's a legit organization. They do want donations. They ask for donations from the community. Now, the donations can be monetary, or it could be anything else. If you got food laying around, or if you got anything, what would you like if people want to, if they want to donate? What is it that the organization needs besides money? Obviously, they need money. Anything would help. $1, $5, $1 million, anything would help. But besides that, what else is a good form of donation?
Well, we know the nonprofit world is always about funding. Funding is usually the issue, but one of the things that I usually start off with before asking about money is, how do you want to serve? How would you like to use your story, your life, to give back and impact and create change? So we start there. And again, everything that we do here is around well-being, the complete self. So we offer the food trainings. We also literacy programs, so tutors, professional skill sets. We did a voice casting workshop where we had a professional voice caster. His name is Kabir Singh. He's all over the media. He's Nike commercials, Walmart, cell phones. He's everywhere. He came down and he did a workshop on what that looks like. We're bringing experiences to the community that normally never make it. These kids don't ever get to have these experiences, but they hear about them through TV, radio, or commercials, but they don't exist here. So we're bringing professional skill sets that allows, I feel like the youth, when you give them an array of opportunities, or just the creative thinking, it's not so much go get this 9-to-5 job, but it's like, how can you inspire another kid to think outside the box and take it to the next level?
Right, and that's what I love about this organization. So besides monetary donations, nonprofit organization, it's a tax write-off, by the way. If you want to volunteer your time, whether it's to give a talk about your profession or anything else, please contact Arjuna. ShareNecessities.org. It's share-necessities.org. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Twitter. I just wanted my friends and my viewers to get to know Arjuna and the organization that we partner up with. We provide legal services to the community. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to me, reach out to Arjuna. I hope you guys enjoyed this little information session that we had.
We got to tell them why you're here, though. We got to tell them. I want to just plug this last piece why this brother's here. One of the things from being here over the year was that there were a lot of families that were being impacted by traffic tickets, parking tickets. There was a family, they had a vehicle. They got lost, got caught up in the tickets. Somehow things got misplaced, lost track, outstanding fees, which caused the car to get towed. Now this family doesn't have a vehicle, parent can't work, lose the job. Now there's no money coming in. And so I realized that, wow, there's a lot of things that we don't think about that can totally change the dynamics of a family. And legal matters, just not having the proper information on how to deal with certain challenges that a lot of us that are privileged to have. You know, we kind of know that if this happens, you can call this number, you know, you can talk to this person if you have a job. But if you have no money, usually you reach out to an attorney or someone about a legal matter. If you tell them you can't afford it, that's usually it. So how do you change that? So
right.
I reached out to Arash and his company, and I explained to him, and he was like, I totally get it. And I was referred to him, by the way, which was through another friend who's an attorney, and she praised his name, you know. And when I went in, I felt that connection. I felt his service heart when we spoke, and we've been together ever since. And we've just been looking at ways to provide information that can help families. The idea is to help people make better choices legally and financially to serve the family as a whole. Also, there are a lot of young men in this community. This is a heavily gang-influenced area where there's a lot of brothers that are making choices based on not having the right information legally. And we're like, well, what's another way that we can influence the youth that are around the community? They're watching the elders. So we're like, if we can give these guys the right information, then they can share the right information to the youngsters that are looking up to them.
Right.
And Arash has met some of the leaders, you know, in the community that, you know, have power in these streets, and they blessed him himself. They welcomed him. So this isn't something that, you know, that we just kind of threw together and pushed on the people. What we do here at Next Level is we bring in individuals, professionals, based on the comments and the feedback and the need of the community.
Right. And by the way, guys, Share Necessities Next Level Community Center is not somewhere in the suburbs or by the ocean or something. We are actually sitting inside a Next Level on 54th Street in South Central. This community center, I've seen it grow in the past year. It's amazing. It's a nonprofit, and they need your help. Not only just monetary donations, but also anything else that can help. If you're a professional, you think you can give back to the community by teaching the youth about a new experience or teaching them a new skill, please get in touch with Arjuna. ShareNecessities.org. Share-necessities.org is the website. You guys can find them there. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram.
We'll put links. We'll put links in the video.
There's links on our Facebook, on my Facebook profile, on my office's Facebook profile, and I will continue to post more links. It's a California-based nonprofit organization. I just wanted Arjuna, you guys to meet Arjuna and see what he does and his organization does for the community. I'm here at least once a month, every Saturday, for a legal workshop. They have all kinds of workshops for the community. Wednesdays and Fridays, they give out food to the people, locally grown, nutritious food. They
fitness class on
fitness classes.
Sundays Every Sunday we meet at the Culver City Stairs. If you want to meet me in person, we bring a group, we bring the community out, we bring other friends out where we all just get together. It's called Next Level Fitness, where we just, again, taking it a step further, the next level, wherever you are. That's impactful. Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights starting in October, we'll have our tutoring for the kids. Wednesdays and Tuesdays. After the tutoring, we have a dance fitness class, getting to the body. People want to lose weight. Everything that it takes just to feel good about the day, feel good about yourself, to even get through and navigate through life's challenges. They're here. We all have to deal with them. Something that I've learned that helps me is when I feel good in my body, I'm able to make that next level stride.
That's awesome. If you guys want more information, visit their website. Excuse me. Now you know who Arjuna is. Now you know what his organization does. I look forward to bringing you more information about this organization the next time I'm here. You guys have a great day.